Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Ian Mazer, and I am the founder of the Heart to Heart dating app. And today we have a very special treat for all of you listening. As most of you may know, Heart to Heart is a bit different from a lot of the traditional dating apps out there. It's the first app of its kind where there is no hiding behind an avatar, any filters, no witty bios, or no canned pickup lines. The very first and only point of contact you have is with your voice. That's right. If you want to meet other people using our app, you have to do what human beings have done for the last hundreds of thousand years, and that's actually talk to somebody. Now, I tell a lot of people this, and a good portion of them love the idea. They think that's great. Let's chat a bit, get to know each other, see if we like each other, see if we connect, and maybe go on a date, take it from there. But a lot of people have expressed some concerns with this. They think, oh my God, that's so scary. I have to be vulnerable to some stranger on the internet. What if it's awkward? What if they don't like me? What if I say something stupid? What if they reject me once the camera turns on? What if I'm ugly? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, if you have these kinds of thoughts, you're not alone. Um, there's many people who struggle with these kinds of things. I myself have struggled with social anxiety for quite some time. But you've come to the right place because I am joined today by the lovely Julia Malakaman. She is a professional dating, confidence, and relationship coach out of Silicon Valley, and she has helped many people in the Bay Area build magnetic confidence, develop conversational skills, and she's taught them how to break free from all the psychological and emotional barriers that have kept them from finding true love. Julia, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. As I was saying, one of the biggest concerns we have when I tell people about how our app works is they're like vastly terrified of the thought that they might actually have to talk to an actual human being. And part of me wants to say, well, that's kind of part of dating. That's a pretty crucial part of dating. You're going to have to do that eventually, even on the traditional dating apps. But, I'm also very sympathetic because, it isn't easy putting yourself out there. And what I'm wondering is what advice would you normally give to these people and your clients who may be a little anxious when it comes to putting themselves out there and being vulnerable, especially when it comes to meeting people who could be a potential romantic prospect?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and you you stated a lot of really good points of like having sympathy and like understanding why we have social anxiety in the first place. I think for a lot of us, just putting ourselves out there and showing up and being seen by other people is quite daunting and not something we do very often. So for me, it makes a lot of sense why we have it. I think if I were to, work with someone and help them understand it, it's like, what is the reason? Like, first, let's understand, what are you anxious about, right? Um, is it getting rejected? Is it having to be in front of someone else? Is it, being seen, people finding out about you and maybe some of the things you are, you know, maybe shy about? What is it that we are afraid to show people? Because this goes into a lot of our people pleasing tendencies, which is where we start
Hmm.
becoming performative and we pretend a lot and we try to create this, you know, beautiful version of ourselves that we think is digestible and will be accepted by other people. So I think first it's starting off with understanding that we have been programmed from a very young age to people please. I mean, this is how we have gotten our needs met as young
Hmm.
kids when we had, you know, big emotions or, you know, if something was going wrong, we would seek, you know, either affection from our parents, we would seek, connection or just even praise, right, from the people around us. So that helped us survive, that helped us feel safe and to feel maybe not even loved, but in some way just within the group, not to be an outsider and ultimately to get our needs met from when we were children. And so even
I see.
evolutionary, like it's just, I mean, just understanding like how the brain works, that we're tribal species, right? We're people that want to be within the group, that creates security, that creates safety, for our nervous system and just mentally. We don't want to be the one who can potentially be pointed at or, you know, be outside of that zone of comfort. So I think understanding like that's kind of where it starts is there's a reason we do what we do, whether it is, to people please or to perform or to not show ourselves fully. There's definitely a reason that has kept us safe, kept us comfortable, kept us protected in many ways. So when we go on to the apps and your app specifically, which is like having people, very quickly see each other face to face, it almost goes against like our primal, for some people, right? It goes against like
Yeah.
everything that's safe for them because now they
It's
can
like a
be,
learned thing.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Okay.
for sure. And I think that, it's, we fear so much the rejection, we fear people judging us, we fear. And I think even beyond that, we really haven't like asked ourselves like what is it we like about someone, or what is it we want in a partner, or what do we like about ourselves. So often we go to these apps seeking some sort of relief from some type of pain, whether it's loneliness or we're seeking to just feel better, right? We think this person we're going to meet can potentially solve our internal problems. So we're coming to the apps from a place of already lacking something, which is never a good never a good state to come to an app
Yeah.
and to pursue dating, because it's going to give off desperate energy. We're going to be so affected if something doesn't go exactly how we want it, and we're going to be affected by, you know the other humans doing what other humans do, which is have opinions of us. So um so yeah, I think, I don't know, I went kind of in many different directions with your question there, but if you want me to talk
No, this is
specifically about something, I definitely can.
yeah, so that's all very interesting and um I love what and I love all of what you said, especially when it comes to like at the end I feel when you were talking about like I think a lot of people have this scarcity mindset of oh well if everything goes wrong like you know it's going to reflect about on me uh but in reality like it's just one event in one very insignificant event in the entire course of your life and you got to have like sort of an abundance mindset like just because you put yourself out there and somebody doesn't like you, that's not the end of the world. There's always going to be someone around the corner. There's millions of people on earth. There's going to be someone around the corner who you will have a chance with and who might just accept you for who you are, but you're never going to meet that person if you're, you know, if you're afraid to go through this if you're afraid to get out of your comfort zone
Yeah,
and
and
actually go meet them.
yeah, and I'll just say something about that because we have, for most of us that are like, high achieving, or, just really anyone, we've always been given a blueprint. Like either our parents told us what to do and we did it and we got to, praise. school, we had a, an outline, an agenda of what we had to do to get the good grade. Even at work, there's an outline, there's a blueprint on how to do well and how to succeed and how to, move up the ladder. With dating, we don't have that. There's no rule book. There's no one telling us how to do this because
That's
no one can tell us how to be us. So
right.
we're using other people who are, like if I'm a woman, a lot of times I might use another woman to compare myself against. And so now I'm in this comparative mode, which, I'm feeling insecure because other women, maybe I can make up a story that all, other women who are better looking, more fit, whatever, they get better looking men or they have a better life or it's easier for them. Right. And men do this
Mm,
too, right? They're like, if I'm not 6 foot tall with a six pack, you know, it just won't happen for me and women won't like me. So we use people to compare against, which is really unfortunate because we are experiencing us. Like our experience is our own. It's not anyone else's. So if I don't believe that I'm worthy enough or I'm good looking enough or that I'm doing enough, it's going to reflect in the type of people I even allow into my life, right? It's going to affect the people that I look for. It's going to affect the quality of my relationship. It's going to affect the things that I you talk about because I'm going to probably be hiding a lot and trying to people please and trying to perform and chameleon myself to what I think this person would like because I'm so desperate for just anyone to like me. And so I think when it comes to dating and putting ourselves out there and just entering the relationship world, it's like what we seek so desperately, we think other people can give us. Like, if I get a girlfriend or if I get a boyfriend, then I will be enough, or I will be good, or I will think I'm then attractive. But I think ultimately what we're seeking deep down is our own validation and our own like of ourself. I think that's truly what we lack, a lot of us, and what we crave is for us to finally, love ourselves and to
mm,
respect ourselves on some level. But what we've done is we've outsourced that to other people. So we're like, well, I don't really
okay.
know how to feel good. And what I've been taught growing up is that other people can give me that, right? Other people can give me a praise. Other people can give me validation. Other people can do that. So we've put it like we've made it an external job. Like if I just get this person, or if I just do well in my career, then I'll feel a certain way. But that's not how it works, right? And one example I'll give is like
Right.
loneliness. You can have, you can be lonely in a relationship. You can be lonely in a crowd filled with people. And so why is that? Why is that? Because a lot of people come to the dating apps because they're so lonely. Some of us, right? And so if we don't understand like how we affect our own um, feelings and how we create how we feel, it's really is a mindset. We're going to take that into our relationships and then wonder, okay, well, I got the thing that I wanted. I'm in a relationship now. Why don't I feel good? Maybe I feel even more insecure because I didn't do that work on me and I'm using these external things to create that for me. It just won't work.
Given all that, how can we kind of reframe our minds to overcome our anxiety?
Yeah, okay. So I think there's a couple things you can do. Is like first and foremost, like the best thing is awareness. Understanding why are we anxious? What is it we're anxious about? Um let's kind of unveil that. I don't even know if that's a question we ask ourselves often is what is it I'm actually afraid about here? Is it them seeing something of me? Is it maybe I'm just not experienced putting myself out there and I'm afraid of an emotion? Like what is actually going on here? And so understanding that and then knowing like that is normal, nothing's gone wrong. Again, we've kind of been, especially when it comes to people pleasing and wanting to like perform and act a certain way for other people to like us. That is again very normal. That's how we've kind of survived and how we've dealt with big emotions growing up. So, but the question to ask is like, what is the effect of that? Like, what is it costing us? And what is the impact that that's having on us? So it
Hmm.
could be like the cost could be that we, ruminate like crazy about what people think of us. Or like we'll think about past conversations, we'll worry, we'll be doubtful, we'll predict future negative scenarios. So
Hmm.
I mean the biggest cost is really the mental cost of how exhausting it is to want others to like us and being in that act, being in that performance. And like so understand what it is costing us, right? And the amount of self judgment we do because of people pleasing, right? And and so what else, another thing we can do is like find an area in your life. It could even be going on your heart to heart dating app. Like what specifically about it would someone think they would have trouble with? Is it maybe not knowing what to say, or is it um you know feeling like some people won't like them, or like what is it that we're afraid of? And like really like pick one you can pick one single thought or one like situation, maybe even in your past, that caused you a lot of maybe pain around dating, or using the dating apps or anything like that. And then from there, it's like once you can become more aware of like just your tendencies and what really is underlying that fear, I think you can get into you can ask yourself like, because there's going to be two types of hard here, right? There's going to be the discomfort of having to go on the app and be uncomfortable and talk to people. And then there's going to
Right.
be like the discomfort of not doing it, but wanting to, right? There's going to be that, because that's one of the hardest parts is like that feeling you get of not having your potential fulfilled or holding back or not showing up because we're simply afraid. So that's
I
one.
believe the kids call it FOMO.
Yeah, FOMO.
Yeah.
FOMO with like heavy doses of self judgment and self criticism. Yeah. So you get to choose, right? Both are gonna be extremely uncomfortable.
Oh,
Um, and then you get to decide like which discomfort here do I really want to pick on purpose? Like if I can decide which one would I want to do? I know it's going to be uncomfortable, and I think that if we can support ourselves through that process and really change the narrative that we have in our mind that, you know, we're not good enough, or that this is a waste of time, or there's no one that I like is going to be here. Whatever the story is like having an alternative thought to counter it. Because here's one thing about confidence. Like,
I see.
what was that?
I said I'm just agreeing with you.
Okay.
Or like, yeah.
Yeah, cuz so here's the thing with confidence. I think confidence is something you gain from doing a skill and being like really good at it, right? So we're very good at beating ourselves up and being self-critical and being very negative about ourselves. Like that's just very normal for people. So when it comes to having a better relationship with ourselves, that is also a skill, right? It's like I haven't practiced
Hmm.
thinking about myself in a positive way. So developing that skill is really going to impact our life, I think, in a great way. Because when we go to these dating apps and we put ourselves out there, um, I think a lot of us want confidence right away. A lot of us want to be relaxed right away. A lot of us want to just be calm. And I think that's actually the wrong way to look at it. Because we don't use the dating apps in this type of way, which is going to be quite intimate and quite scary for people, I think having more like courage or self confidence, like a willingness to be with a really uncomfortable emotion, like nervousness or anxiety, like still doing the courageous act with all these heavy emotions, uncomfortable emotions. I think that's what more people should want for themselves, because confidence comes when you've done something again and again and again and again and you've practiced it. So if someone's coming to this app and they're like, well, I'm not confident, I can't go on the app, I would say you don't try to be confident. We're not there yet.
A
Okay?
hundred percent.
Right now we're nervous and we're like doubtful, but we can have the courage or whatever other emotion that will move us forward and help us utilize this app, which can be courage, determination, maybe even discipline. But to think that the nervousness and the anxiety is going to go away, that comes with more time, more experience, and really having a good management over the way that we talk to ourselves, which
I
that's a skill too.
I absolutely love that you said that because I 100% agree. I think there's a very direct correlation between a lack of experience and a lack of confidence. You know, and when you take action and you're constantly plowing through that resistance and all that anxiety and all that fear of what lies ahead, that's really how you build confidence. That's how you build self-esteem. You realize, oh, I was able to talk to this person and, nothing happened. I didn't explode. The world didn't end. Maybe I can, talk to someone longer, or maybe I can talk to more people. And when you keep pushing through that discomfort, you're basically doing bicep curls for your self esteem. You know what I mean? And continually challenging yourself, ironically, like the people who are anxious and don't want to talk to people, ironically, the way to get over that anxiety is to talk to people
Yeah.
and realize that it's really not that big of a deal. It's because ultimately, I think dating and, it's really a low stakes situation, and I think people have these lofty expectations of what dating really is. All a date is, when at the end of the day, it's just two people getting to know each other. That's what you're doing on Heart to Heart. That's what you're doing when you gather the courage to go up to that pretty girl at a bar and say, "Hey." Um, that's really all it is. It's two people getting to know each other. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. And I think if you can frame it in that point of view and just keep pushing forward, I think that's really you know, how people can kind of build up their self-esteem, confidence, and get over these sort of emotional barriers.
Yeah, I really like what you said there, because I think most people, like kind of what I was saying at the beginning, is like most of us come to the app thinking that, or wanting this human, this person in front of us on the app to like us. Right? It's with
100%.
that
Yeah.
underlying intention that they should, or I need them to like me, or I would really really like it if they liked me and matched with me and dated me. And
And that's the beautiful thing. Like, it's okay if they don't. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They don't have to. you're not going to be able to please 100% of the people 100% of the time.
Yeah. And it's like if I could date and use the dating app and make that experience anything I wanted it to be, I believe a great experience could simply be, well, it's fun. Or
Hmm.
like I want to learn another human's perspective, even if it's not my own. Or right, I want to share my experience with the world with someone else. Like these are more healthy, positive, not outcome oriented um you know experiences we can have, but that takes the work of the
That's so true.
person themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right again. Like dating, it should be fun. You know what I mean? I love it. Like I love being able to, yeah, I love getting to know someone and laugh, and I always try and like laugh and joke around and show that really positive humorous side of me. And if they latch onto that, there's no greater feeling than when you go out with someone, for on a date and it goes really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you kind of hold yourself back, both like, and when you let these sort of negative thoughts influence you, you're kind of holding yourself back from those experiences.
Yeah.
When the whole point is to just really, both of you should be laying yourselves bare.
Yeah.
And if you don't like each other, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too.
That's a really good point. And I think it's like, well, here's the problem is like we've put our value, and this is again just the way we've been socialized. For women, our value is the way we look, right? It's our body, our, this is why women are getting, procedures done and all this stuff because they want to look more beautiful because that's where their value is. For a lot of women, that's where it's coming from. And for men, it's like what they do, right? It's the things
Yeah.
that they have accomplished, and versus just the being, the human that they are, for both men and women.
I
So
should I should say I'm part of the Men Against BBLs Association. Just throwing that out there. So you're absolutely right. But I'm sorry.
well, I
Continue.
mean, yeah, I mean, women can get, I mean, I want to support everyone in their decisions and whatever makes people feel better about themselves. But when it comes to dating, um, we're so much more than just the things we do and the way we look. And so, a lot of the guys that I work with, they'll be like, well, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this. And it's really unfortunate, like how what they think is attractive or what they think they need to be in order to even just have a conversation with someone. Like I'm not even worthy enough to go talk to this other human being. And I think there's a lot of like low self-esteem that permeates single people, and even anyone, if single or not. But what I'll give you an example. Like some of my clients will be like, I'm not a good conversationalist because you know, maybe she wasn't engaged, or maybe she rejected me or did this thing during the conversation. Therefore, I'm not that good at conversation, and I just didn't know what to say and all this stuff. And I always kind of ask them like, how can you be a first of all, what does a great conversationalist mean to you? And how can we put it in a way that's not dependent on her? Like, if someone can identify what makes them a good conversationalist, and regardless of whether they get rejected by another person, how can they still show up being that good conversationalist? Because that's what they can control. So, for people that are going to be using your app, probably they may be
Absolutely.
like, what do I say? I don't know if I'm good at talking and all this stuff. It's like, okay, independent or like irrespective of what a woman is going to do, whether she just immediately swipes left or whatever, like, how can you show up in a way that you are happy with the way you're communicating and showing up, and are you asking questions, or are you trying to be are you trying to be engaged, are you trying to be curious? um what we tend to do is look for external things to determine that for us, and that's always going to leave us you know feeling less than and comparing and just not creating that sense of safety for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said there because I think there have definitely been times where I also thought that, I had a lot of conversational hangups and I wasn't a great conversationalist either. But there were also, the more I went on dates and the more I kind of went through life, I realized like the most successful dates I had and the people I ended up spending the most time with, the conversation just came easy and it came naturally. So absolutely, I think there's only so much you can do, and you should and you can work on those sorts of skills, like asking open-ended questions, really engaging the other person, et cetera, et cetera. But you also need to keep in mind there's only so much you can do, and if there's just a riff, and you find that it's not the conversation is not really going anywhere, or the interaction's not going anywhere, it's just kind of hitting a dead end, then it's there's not like that's again that's like what you said, these are forces outside of our own control. And I think a lot of you know all this is coming back to focusing on things you can control. I think that's what makes people more successful in the dating realm than others,
Yeah.
and in other realms of life if we want to get meta about it, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, and I would encourage your audience to look at your app as a skill building app. Because not
Absolutely, I'm glad you said yes.
yeah, because not a lot of people just go on a video chat with strangers to experience dating that way. It's not, it's a skill, right? So
No, they'd rather send a silly GIF than actually, try and connect with a person.
yeah. And so if I can find the value of it for me and remind myself, okay, yep, maybe I'm getting rejected, maybe I'm stumbling on my words, whatever it is, but why is it important for me to keep showing up? Like
Keep pushing.
how is this benefiting me and my social skills? Because it is a skill. It is something that takes time to work up. How can I practice that courage that I want, right? Doing the hard things with that difficult emotion, like anxiousness, whatever it is, and still taking the action I want to take. Um, and practicing like authenticity, practicing being honest, because if we have a habit of performing and pretending and like changing kind of like who we are in a sense to please someone else, this is a great opportunity to practice the opposite of that. It's like, how authentic? Okay, I'm going to go on the app for, let's say, half an hour today. How can I practice being like as authentic and just not hold me back? I want to see how many people that turns off, and I want to see how many people that turns on. Because the more authentic and honest we are with ourselves and the way we want to show up, that will attract our people.
And and I think people really like, and like I think the big takeaway is people need to adopt that. That's a very healthy mindset going into both using heart to heart and just dating in general. Is don't look at it as like, oh my god, I hope nobody's gonna like be. Oh, I hope I don't say the wrong thing. Look at it as like, well, how can I if how can I like improve my interpersonal skills? How can I become a better dater? How can I engage with a person better? How can I connect with people better?
Yeah.
Come at it, and with everything in life, be it dating, career, anything, come at it from a growth and learning mindset.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that will help you really push through those anxiety barriers as well. If you just kind of take a step back, remove yourself from all the bad and negative emotions and all the shame, and just be like, this is a really valuable thing I'm building. I'm doing the right things. Even though, it's hard and it's difficult, I know deep down it's good for me to be able to try and connect with a stranger, talk to them, keep a conversation going. I'm going to keep doing it until I get good at it. Again, it's like going to the gym for your interpersonal skills. And I'm really glad you framed it like that.
Yeah.
Um, so one more question, and then I think we'll wrap up, Julia. So I think a big concern, aside from everything we've talked about, is for people who may or may not be aware. Our app is voice chat in chat rooms for the first 2 minutes, and then you're able to turn the camera on, right? And a question I've been asked is, well, what if I turn the camera on and they just X me right away? Like, oh, you repulsive creature. I don't want anything to do with you. Be gone. And I'm not gonna lie, like that's probably gonna happen. Um, it's just kind of the inevitable nature. Like I remember even back when I was on the dating apps, uh, I would I would be asked like how tall am I, and then I'd tell them how tall I was, only to not see them in my inbox the next day. It's just kind of like the brutal reality of dating, right? You got to take the good with the bad. But my question is, how would you advise people, especially like say your clients, how they should handle rejection in a healthy way and just kind of keep a positive mindset about it?
Yeah, so rejection is like, so when we are afraid of people saying something to us, or a woman saying no, or a woman swiping, or a woman, we tell her something and then she doesn't like it, we're not actually afraid of those things happening. We're afraid of how we're going to feel when it does. So our feelings
Hmm.
are created by the way that we think. So we're afraid of feeling rejected. We're afraid of feeling embarrassed. We're afraid of feeling humiliated, right? Whatever the feeling is, that's what we're actually afraid of. And then the mental beat up we have when we do feel that way. Because a woman saying whatever to us, it's that, like, that's just neutral. Every single person is going to have a different opinion of that based off how they think of that circumstance or that situation. So some person is going to be like, yeah, absolutely, she can totally say those words to me, and that's her opinion, and I respect that, and that, she's having that's her right to say that. Another guy could be like, oh my god, I she's so right, like, I'm not good enough. I'm not, I'm not enough in some way, right? And another person can be like, okay, that wasn't a big deal. On to the next woman. So it's like the woman doing the things or whatever happens to someone when they're on this app, it's what is it that I'm actually afraid of? And that's my own emotion. And I'm afraid of feeling it. So most likely I'll probably react to it by maybe closing the app, right? Instead of just allowing that uncomfortable emotion to be there and not resisting it or telling myself I'm bad for having it. Um, we often go into like negative performances when we have an uncomfortable emotion we don't like. Most of us go and we numb it with, some other social media or food, alcohol, whatever. But that's actually very, just like that in itself is very profound to know. Is like, we first of all get to make whatever another person says to us mean whatever we want, right? That's our free will. That's
Hmm.
the beauty of having a human brain, is we get to decide what we make it mean. Now, initially we're probably going to have these like automatic feelings of, okay, this is difficult, this is embarrassing, oh, I feel defeated, or I feel humiliated, right? Those are the natural feelings we're probably going to have at the beginning. So the more we can do with allowing that uncomfortable emotion to be there and know that we're creating it with our thinking, and that it's not going to kill us, and that we're okay to have this uncomfortable emotion, um, we take all our power back. And
I
we
love
let
that.
the other humans be the other humans. We let the women say whatever they want to us. We let the men say whatever they want to us. But we manage our own mental and emotional state. That's what will keep us going again and again and again.
I think rejection is not, it's sort of like kind of a when, not a matter of if. And I think it's a very necessary part of the dating process, because it in two ways. One, I think it builds emotional rigor. I think it builds character because you realize like, okay, this person rejected me. You know, what, however horrible the rejection was. Maybe she thought you were short, ugly, or he thought you were short or ugly. It applies to women too. Um, it doesn't matter. The point is like, you made it through. You're alive. You have your, as long as you have a strong sense of self, like you'll carry on. Two, like you also need to, it's also weeding out the people that aren't right for you. That's a very necessary part of the process. I I moved to Dallas about a year ago, and I only started dating my current girlfriend a couple months ago. But it's not like I was like completely inactive in the dating scene. I was dating around. I was on the apps, but I say that because I basically went through a year's worth of, giving people a chance. Some of them rejected me, but I rejected a lot of them. And I did this all before I found my girlfriend. But I'm glad I pushed through, and I'm glad I never gave up because the end result is I finally found someone who was right for me and makes me happy. So
Yeah.
that's really it, guys and gals.
One of the hardest questions actually for my clients to answer is, what do you like about yourself? What
Really,
do you offer women? Like, that is one of the hardest questions because we're not thinking about that. We're just thinking about
that's
all the ways we're not enough. Yeah.
that's so interesting because you work in Silicon Valley, and I'm sure for people who don't know, that's like the tech capital of the entire country, maybe even the world. There's a lot of very accomplished professionals in Silicon Valley who are, you know, filthy rich, driving in Ferraris, and even then, like they, even if they're not that, they probably have respectable careers. They probably work very hard, and it's interesting that even those kinds of people have a hard time answering a question like, "What do you like about yourself?" When in reality, I think if they're, if I'm right, and those are the typical clients you work with by law of averages, I think there's a lot to like about them. You know what I mean? And it's, yeah, it's crazy how low people's self esteem is nowadays that they can't even like look inside themselves and be like, well, nothing. I worked hard my whole life. I became an accomplished, tech entrepreneur, software engineer. Nah, none of that really. And I worked hard. I stayed disciplined. None of that matters. I'm still a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's a shame. And so, what do you usually like? And so, what do you usually tell them to kind of overcome that and really examine themselves and kind of fall in love with themselves like they should, or give themselves the self love they deserve?
Yeah, I mean that's that's the never-ending work, right? Is constantly reminding ourselves of our own worth and really shifting our thoughts into believing that and making that a practice. But what's interesting is I think that a lot of guys go on to dates or onto the dating apps thinking that, okay, well, I have all these accomplishments, I did all these degrees, I have this certain status, and why don't women like me? And I think
Mm.
a lot of them had to face that harsh reality that women want more than that. They want an emotional and intellectual and all of that. They want that connection with another man, or whatever gender, right? They want that beyond just what you do. Like that'll only take you so far. So it's like guys have done all the work to get all the gold stars, and on the outside look like they're very accomplished, and they are. But when it comes to that interpersonal relationship, that's where they're lacking. That's where
Mm,
they don't believe they have the worth. They're not interesting. They don't believe they can talk to women. They don't believe they have anything to offer women outside of just this great job that they have. And so, it's that's to me the most interesting part is like, and it's like, what is the story I have of myself? And it's all just made up, right? I get to decide who I am by just the way that I think about myself. And so if I've been programmed and trained and have for many, many years and many decades believed myself to be one thing, that's the work to shift out of that and to create a new belief you want of yourself. Because and this is actually a very interesting thing, is like, no one turns their head when people are, beating themselves, like being super negative, like, oh, I'm not that good, like, I'm whatever, like no one turns the head. But if people are like, yeah, I'm awesome, I do really like myself, I am
yeah,
I am an amazing person, it's like, whoa, like, how
yeah,
dare you think of yourself that way? Like, we're like shocked when people are nice to themselves. With that blows my mind.
yeah. Like, no, dude, you're awesome. You just need to see it for yourself.
Yeah. So like the collective narrative really is like, yeah, we beat the shit out of ourselves mentally. That's just what we do. It's like, you do it, I do it. We all kind of have low self-esteem. We're going to stick with our people. And but I think if we can just focus on ourselves and like decide, how would you want to think about yourself? Like, if no one else was in the room, you were just by yourself, and maybe you even have to go to the land of play pretend or make believe. That's,
Right.
that's an interesting one, make believe. If you had to go to that place, what would you want to believe about yourself? So
Mm,
that's one to sit with and ponder, and the work is really shifting where we're currently at, right? The thoughts we currently think and the results that get us, to slowly shifting it into that future version of ourselves that does have high self-esteem, that does love himself, that does make mistakes and he still gets rejected, but the way he talks to himself is so much different.
amazing. Lots to think about. But I just want to say thank you so much, Julia, for coming on today. And for everyone watching, please tell us what you got going on and where we can find you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ian. This was a pleasure. I really appreciated the
Absolutely.
conversation.
Me too. You don't want to do a shameless plug?
Oh, yeah, if you want to check out my website, it's relationshipconfidence.com, and I work with guys on everything we talked about and a lot more. And we do a lot of in-person approaching practice, so really applying these tools in person and approaching women and getting rejected. But I mean, that's why I like your app too. I think that people will be resistant, but I think those that see it as an opportunity for self growth and yeah, self growth, and even just meeting people, I think it will be a great opportunity.
That's an endorsement from a professional dating coach, folks. Doesn't get better than that. But thank you so much, Julia, and we'll see you guys in the next video.